I just read one of the wildest crazy roommate story times that I've ever gotten for this series. This story came from a girl named Jamie. Jamie said that her old roommate told her that she was part of an inner earth civilization and that she was immortal. And when I read this, I was like, what is going on? And then when I got to the ending, I was like, what is going on? So this girl, Jamie, messages and she says, yeah, I live with this girl. We had a mutual friend. Like she was kind of part of my social circle, but I didn't know her that well. She had a room opening up. I needed a room. So she moves in with this girl whose name is Jen. Jen's name has been changed to protect her privacy. And this takes place in Nashville, which is actually where I live, but I don't know these people. So they had certain things in common. Like Jamie said, she's really into astrology. Jen was really into astrology. And actually one of the first things they ever did when they met was like compare the times that they were born and their birth charts and their compatibility as friends. But for Jamie, who sent the story, this was like more of a hobby. For Jen, this was her entire life. She was the type of person to not sleep with her phone in her bedroom because she thought that the electromagnetic waves were interfering with her aura, things like that. Jen was very into meditation and practicing mindfulness. She did not have social media. She was single, but she didn't do online dating because she thought that she needed to meet people organically because whoever was put on her path was put there for a reason. And actually, at first, Jamie liked living with Jen because Jen was teaching her all kinds of things about mindfulness and manifestation. She was teaching her how to speak things into existence. She wasn't teaching her how to do it with like vision boards or the power of positive thought. She was teaching her to do it with a whispering method she called echo looping. Pause to say that I'm very into manifestation and I've never heard of echo looping. But anyway, Jen tells Jamie that if she whispers her intentions between 3:10 and 3:30 in the morning and then drinks sun water, manifestation becomes easier because you can bypass something called the electromagnetic gatekeepers. Like, I've never heard of this. Jamie said sun water was basically just water you left out in the sun, but to her surprise, it actually worked in some ways. Like, she got a raise, she had chronic jaw pain that went away, and this was an issue that she was plagued with for as long as she could remember. And she felt more energized and emotionally regulated than she had felt in years. And she tells Jen this, and Jen says, oh yeah, that's just because you're just remembering who you really are. They're living together for a couple months when Jen leaves for what she calls a harmonic yoga retreat. And this wasn't that uncommon. She did retreats like this fairly often. But on this particular trip, she comes home after 3 days without her bag. She's barefoot. She's got leaves and sticks in her hair. When she walks in, Jamie's in the kitchen and she's like, how was it? And she's like, I don't want to talk right now. She's like, I'm really tired. I've crossed through and I can't speak about it until the moon wanes. So Jamie's like, okay, I guess we'll talk about it tomorrow. And Jen goes to bed. And then she doesn't leave her room for 3 days. Like, she would come out to use the bathroom and stuff, but then she would just go back in her room and go right back to sleep. So Jamie's like, I guess whatever she did really wore her out. On the third night after Jen came back, Jamie woke up at 3:22 in the morning. She was going out to the kitchen to do her echo looping practice. For manifestation, when she walks out in the kitchen, she sees Jen out there pacing back and forth. It almost looks like she's sleepwalking and she's whispering to herself, but it was like whispering really, really fast, like she was reciting something from memory. So Jamie's like, Jen, are you awake? Like, what's going on? And Jen just looks at her and says, oh, you weren't supposed to see that yet. She's like, good, that's very good because it means you're remembering. She's like, it means you're almost ready. And Jamie's like, what are you talking about? And I guess that's when Jen decides it's appropriate to just tell her that she is from Middle Earth. Like, she says she's from Agartha, which I guess according to her is a city that lies beneath the surface of the earth. And she says she was sent to the earth's surface to help wake people up in cycles. She tells Jamie she's one of these people. And Jamie's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. She's like, yeah, your lineage belongs to the 13th spiral. I don't know if this is a thing. I don't know if it's just a thing in Jen's world, but that's what she tells her. And she starts going on and on about how the veil is getting thinner and that Jamie needs to wake up. And Jamie's like, I still am not following. She said she wasn't like creeped out. Like, she actually remembers thinking as it was happening that Jen was just messing with her. She said she actually remembers kind of laughing out of nervousness or like to get Jen to break character, but she didn't. Instead, she just said that the ones who guard the openings are getting tired and that there are breaches and that she should pay attention to humming noises before power outages. She says when you notice patches of cold air, that's not weather, that's leakage. And Jamie said she was just at a loss. Like, she had no idea what was going on with this girl. She just let her talk and talk, but it all culminated when Jen said, yeah, I don't die like you do. And she ends the conversation with saying something like, yeah, well, the moon's waned, so we can talk about it more tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. And she just goes back in her room. So Jamie's like, weird. And the next day she brings it up to her and she's like, what was last night about? Like, were you on something? Like, were you drinking? And Jen's like, no, that was all true. And just goes about her day like normal. Jamie said like she just let it go kind of after that. Like, she would bring it up from time to time and Jen was always happy to elaborate on what she was talking about, but she fully believed that she was from Middle Earth and that she was immortal. Like, even when they were out or something, Jamie would bring it up and Jen would just agree and be like, yeah, that's true. And this belief didn't seem to be affecting her in a negative way, so I guess Jamie just kind of let it go, like she was otherwise a good roommate. Until about a month later, all the pipes burst on the floor above them and the apartment complex flooded. I actually think I know which building this was. Like, I remember an apartment complex getting flooded around here and them having to vacate a bunch of the units. But I don't know, she didn't say the name of it. But anyway, they have to move out. Like, their apartment is just done for. But while their apartment was flooding, Jen was just standing calmly in the living room while Jamie was like frantically putting everything into trash bags trying to get out of there. And Jen just said, this was all going to happen anyway. This is just alignment. So Jamie calls another friend of hers. She's going to go stay with her and she's like, where are you gonna go? And Jen says, oh, I know some people out in McMinnville, which is a town like outside of Nashville. And she's like, yeah, but you don't know these people and you couldn't go there unless they invited you. So they leave the place kind of in chaos and 3 days go by and then she texts Jen. She's like, hey, are you doing okay? Like, how's your friend's place? And Jen just doesn't respond. And she chalked it up to her like going off grid or just not having signal wherever she was. She would text her again and again and she never got a response. Her number is still active, but she's never responded to Jamie. So Jamie tries not to overthink it. She's like, I guess she just didn't want to be friends anymore. Like, whatever, life goes on. Until a couple months later, she's like looking on the social app with the red logo. It's a forum, you know what I'm talking about. She comes across a post in a niche community about geological hums. She said it wasn't like I was like actively searching out that information. It was just suggested to me, so I looked at it. But apparently people all over the world hear these geological hums right before power outages or weird weather, and she's intrigued because she remembered what Jen had said about geological hums. So she starts reading, and one of the top comments mentioned one of these strange hums just outside of McMinnville, Tennessee on the exact same night that the apartment flooded. She said it was goosebumps when she read a comment responding to that, which said, the McMinnville tone was unusually loud. There's a person I know who reported missing time. The bird stopped singing for a full 48 hours. There are definitely people walking among us who are not us. She said, Ashley, my stomach dropped when I read McMinnville and the tone, and I read the date, because how could she have known, and why would she have behaved that way? Like, maybe it's just coincidence, but now I can't stop wondering. I don't really know what to think. I don't really know what to make of this, but I think it's interesting, and I love crazy roommate stories because that's actually how Spooky Scary Storytime even started. So if you've got a story you think no one would believe, please send it to me. I would love to read it. The people here would love to hear it, and you found your people. I try to post a new story almost every single day, and I've got one coming up about someone who believes they've met the Galactic Convention, so nothing's too weird.